Welcome, Regenerative Renegades, to another episode of our podcast, Regenerative Renegades. Today, we have Todd Lein with us. He's the only person in the world that can claim he was the #1 employee of Thousand Hills at its launch 22 years ago. 22 years ago. So he has been on the journey ever since that day. Ups and downs and travails and everything.
Journey it is.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. And Todd still works for Thousand Hills. Not only was the first, but he still has spent that entire time of 22 years with Thousand Hills. And today we're going to learn a little bit about what he experienced to bring himself to Thousand Hills and what the staying power was to stay with this crazy journey as long as he did. So we'll get into some of those details, but if you could start with kind of pre-Thousand Hills, like what even opened your eyes to the fact that you might want to have a career in this space, and how did that transpire? Go back as far as you want, back to mother's womb if you want.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, thanks, Matt. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, as you mentioned, and a good one at that. Thousand Hills has really been a groundbreaking initiative in terms of bringing regeneratively raised grass-fed beef to the marketplace. It's been a joy and a challenge, but it's a true pleasure to be part of that movement. So, but yeah, how did I find myself selling grass-fed beef around the country? It does go back a ways. And I think, as a kid growing up in western Minnesota, I was always attracted to the outdoors. My dad grew up on a dairy farm, as did my mom. So time spent on Grandma and Grandpa's place, pretty memorable time.
What kind of an operation was that? Like
very traditional, diversified. They had some cows, they had pigs, they had chickens. Grandma was a big gardener.
So
everything.
Kind of a typical farm in those
Pretty
days.
Typical farm in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, because I've talked about around here, our neighbors, multi-species, and even our neighbors. They all the farms kind of look the same,
right?
And we find now that they were incredibly resilient,
right?
Because of the way they were structured and diversified. But anyway, so that was. Your grandparents got established roughly when on their
So they
homestead?
I would say probably in the mid-30s when they settled into the two farms that they had, in both of them in Chippewa County, western Minnesota.
Any stories of Dust Bowl?
No. That precedes my dad by a few years.
Yeah.
So Dad spent most of the storytelling.
Okay.
And it was closest to them because by the time Mom and Dad had their family, which included me, Mom's family had moved to northern Minnesota.
Okay.
Still had a farm up there. But it was the Grandpa and Grandma Lein that we would go see on Sundays and have the fried chicken. And, Grandma would pay you a few pennies to go catch the rooster before dinner. And so those are very fond memories as a child growing up. And but then I largely grew up, as you did, Matt. We're about the same age, but pretty much grew up during the farm crisis. The go-go growth era of the 70s. Huge expansion, fence row to fence row agriculture.
Who was that? Earl Butts?
Earl Butt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go big or go home.
Yep. Get big or get out. And the extravagant financing that supported that change. And then, of course, the embargo in the early 80s on grain to Russia, and then just the instability of the economy led to one of the largest, most damaging farm crises the country had seen, certainly since the Depression era.
Yeah.
And so my experience then with agriculture, with where I grew up, was livestock leaving the farms or going into buildings.
Yeah.
So the vertical integration of the chicken industry in particular, and then later hog confinement. But the expansion of heavy metal agriculture, a lot of tractors, a lot of diesel, a lot of black dirt. And so
a lot of tilling.
A lot of tilling. And it kind of lost. And
that was like rough 70s, 80s.
70s, big time in the 70s. And then the crisis really hit in the early 80s.
I remember that. But anyway.
So that was kind of what I experienced myself. And there really wasn't any pathway to agriculture as a person like myself.
Yeah.
By then, Dad had left the farm, got into the lumberyard business, sold lumber for 65 years. So I grew up in town. Town was, slightly overstated. There's only 250 people in the town. But yeah, there really wasn't a pathway into agriculture for someone.
At that time, there really wasn't.
No. People were being encouraged not to get into agriculture.
Absolutely. I mean, my parents, no, you got to go do something else.
Yep.
And I could see it for myself, and no one had to talk me into it. Right. It was disaster everywhere you looked.
Well, and again, it wasn't even the agriculture I was interested in.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
Well, it's true.
I mean, I was the kid that would take his trike apart and couldn't figure out how to put it back together. So being responsible for a piece of equipment would never have worked for me.
Yeah.
But I've always liked animals, working with livestock. And so as many of us did at that time, we left home, seeking our fortunes in the big city, off to college,
going to school,
find a career anywhere but in agriculture.
Yes. Amen.
Or anywhere but your hometown.
Amen. Yep.
So, But yet
that's the gutting out of small town America.
Rural America.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right there. Yeah.
It was pretty effective. Yep. The economy of the 80s pretty much did it in, or a lot of it. Now we're seeing a resurgence.
We are.
It's starting, people are finding their way back to farms, finding innovative ways to make a living on the farms. And of course, Thousand Hills is part of that trend and was contributed to that movement in a big way. And so,
so what stands out to you about, what did you carry with you, like from a memory standpoint at grandma's house and your dad's experience? First of all, I want to say, now I know where you got your work ethic, because anybody who has dairy in their background at all means that they know how to work.
Right.
That's the most work-intensive farming, agriculture, I think, that you can do.
I'd been married to my wife for about 2 years when we were in a conversation with friends, and somebody asked the question, if you could choose any kind of work to do, what would it be? I said, I'd be a dairy farmer.
You did.
And it wasn't because I love work that much. It's because I found that a dairy operation was the most regenerative farming enterprise that you could really come by.
And why is that?
Well, you had weekly cash flow with your milk checks. The cattle, but it required pasture and some row cropping. So very diversified in regards of your cropping system. It held the family together because it had to. If you were milking cows twice a day, 7 days a week, you didn't go anywhere.
Family was tight.
Family was pretty tight.
You either hated each other or loved each other or both.
A little of that, little of each.
Yeah.
So I just really admired that diversified economic model.
Yeah. That reminds me of this farm that we're sitting at right here. Small dairy herd, maybe 20 cows.
Yeah.
And the diversified grazing and row cropping and alfalfa, of course, when alfalfa was in the rotation back in those days,
right,
for 5 years or whatever the number of years. Yeah. So then they paid for the farm and they raised their family.
Yep.
Paid for everything.
And it supported the small community economies.
Yeah.
Your faith communities were an integral part of what you did socially. And so again,
what about those memories? Like, what did you take with you? Like, okay, this is something worth protecting. Because I think that's kind of what you've been doing is like trying to, like you said, create something that invests in agriculture, rural economy, community. So what did you see that made you think that that's something worth protecting?
Well, I think, and I brought a couple of books along because, when you're seeking answers, you go to sources. And so for me, it was, okay, what's that balance between the family, the community, and your faith? And agriculture seemed to play a role in all of that. And so then I was like, well, how am I going to do that? Because the agriculture that I'm experiencing around me, again, in the 80s, was not receptive to, it wasn't inviting people back into that system.
Right.
So my options were, okay, well, I go to school. I thought I might be a teacher. I studied history and political science as a degree. Thought, okay, well, if I teach, I could work. It would free me up to have some time in the summers to have a hobby farm, because I truly wanted to be on the land, working with the land.
And why do you think that was? Why did you want to be on the land?
I don't know. I guess it's a passion, but there's just something so satisfying to see the cycling of the seasons, and I think it's partly why I stay in Minnesota, because the seasons are very pronounced. You come out of a long winter, you're ready to start digging in the ground and growing something fresh.
You're ready for green.
Something green coming out of the ground. But then by the end of the summer and fall, and the crops have grown and matured, and then it's harvest time. And so
there's always something to look forward to.
There's something that really kind of grounds you, I guess.
Yeah.
In a lifestyle. But then in a kind of a cultural grounding. And so what I learned, early on, there was Aldo Leopold, who, for those that have read into natural history, or he was a conservation officer in the 20s and 30s, and was involved in very many different aspects of conservation, wildlife conservation, and then farmland conservation. And he's known as the father of the land ethic, the notion of there being a land ethic, where there's actually a moral underpinning as to, to your question, really, what draws you, what ties you to a set of values or a principle. And it's an ethic. And he captured the idea of a land ethic in his early writings and in his practices. And so the Sand County Almanac is the book that he's probably most famous for, which is where he attempts to articulate that notion.
Who is this?
Aldo Leopold.
I've seen him quoted.
He's from Wisconsin.
Okay.
But
look at this quote right here. So Wendell Berry, The Unsettling of America, Culture and Agriculture. If you want to read anybody who will stretch your mind in this topic, but in all many other facets of life, Wendell Berry is amazing. The quote on the front, a return to the art of nurture, not as a romantic dream, but as an alternative to possible nightmare. Wow.
That's a powerful, and that book came out in the 70s. And that's really? Yeah, that's really what fed some of my early work as a community organizer. and I'll talk about that here in a moment. But on Aldo Leopold, this famous quote of his, he was addressing a convention of farmers in 1939. And this essay was put together by a guy named Kurt Mein. But the quote reads, "When the land does well for its owner, and the owner does well by the land, when both end up better by reason of their partnership, then we have conservation. When one or the other grows poorer, either in substance or in character or in the responsiveness to sun, wind, and rain, then we have something else, and it's something we do not like. Let's admit that at the outset that harmony between people and the land, like harmony between neighbors, is an ideal, and one that may never be attained. Only glib and ignorant people, unable to feel the mighty currents of history, unable to see the incredible complexity of agriculture itself, can promise any early attainment of that ideal. But any person who respects themselves and the land can try to." And so it's a continuum. It's a journey. It's grounded in the principles of conservation and a land ethic, with the goal of sustaining that principle and gaining some momentum. And it's there that I find the attraction and my commitment to the Thousand Hills. Because what Thousand Hills represent is not just a commodity or a food product at the grocery store. It's a set of principles on how that food is raised, how it relates to the land, how it relates to the community, to the people, and to the local economy. And so I've always been inspired by our commitment to our protocol, because it is truly grounded in conservation and truly grounded in the benefit of the people, the land, and the animals that we rely on for the product that we bring to market.
This is some pretty highbrow stuff there, Todd.
Yeah.
You're a thinker. You're a philosopher.
Well, this has been the last 40 years of my life. And I think I've been fortunate. I've stumbled into situations that have allowed me to explore, challenge, and implement some of these ideas. And so,
well, you're drawn to it too,
right?
It wasn't just stumbling. You're drawn to it.
I knew I was in search of something. But it didn't exist. All I saw was black fields and high interest rates. And thinking, how does this connect to what I want to be when I grow up?
But that harmony is what strikes a chord with me, that harmony between land and human, basically.
And although it's an ideal that is hard to attain, the journey is worth the effort.
Well, and the striving. Like, when you're striving towards that ideal and you're moving toward it versus away from it.
Yes.
Because both of them have very distinct feelings. The more hollow feeling of moving, well, I'm not really in harmony with the land, but this is what I have to do.
Right.
And then that feeling that goes along with it, all right, well, this is temporary and I just have to do this. And any other decisions that you make in life, you could relate to that. But then when you're going in that harmony, in that direction of the harmony, you're like, okay, I made progress this year. Right? This year, if I look back, I made progress. It may have been one step. It may have been a half a step. It may have been 3 steps. Who knows? But I'm moving in that direction. And I think that's what draws people that were raised on the land like we were, because I think about, like, okay, why is that there? Why are you drawn to that? And for me, it was the void that I felt when I left the land and I left this whole way of thinking. And it was just about earning a living, right? And there was this void. And then as I took steps back towards the land and conservation, then I felt more alive and more in harmony. And I didn't even realize that till you were talking about it. But that, that why, what's embedded in us that makes you want to reach for that?
Yeah, and that's and the why remains. But it's that why that we keep striving to understand, and hopefully surround ourselves with opportunities to kind of mirror off of that. So this is what I did today. How does that relate back to what's important to me?
Right. Yeah. That ethic, those values,
and that harmony.
Yeah.
So Aldo Leopold was a big part of that.
Okay.
And then Wendell Berry came along. In his book, The Gift of Good Land, he has an excellent little story he tells, and I'll attempt to paraphrase some of it.
Look at you are a teacher. You've done your homework. You've read this. You've done your history. You've always been a teacher.
I have.
I just realized that.
Well, a lifelong learner, at least.
Well, you're a learner, but you teach too.
Share information.
Because it just comes out of you. Anyway.
So this story is about Wendell Berry's telling a story about spending a day with a couple of his neighbor friends, driving around the neighborhood. And he goes on to say, the most moving and memorable part of these plots, he's talking about some conservation plots that he was looking at, was a stony roadside that we came to in early morning while it was still in the shadow and moist with dew. This was too infertile a place to support a thick stand of grasses, but perhaps for that reason it had the richest variety of broadleaf plants. It is survived by the care of the farm family whose modest house stands a short way up the road. They mow the roadside every year to keep the highway department from spraying it. The wife thinks the flowers are beautiful, and once she told her husband, "I don't know what they are, but I don't want anybody fooling with them." So what's important? What is the importance or value of these perhaps ephemeral relics of a long-vanished prairie? What do they signify? In a sense, I think they serve as a control plot, as do other things or other areas, the equally rare and threatened stands of virgin forest. The condition of the land as it was when we came to it is the only possible measure of our history. Only by knowing what was there can we tell to what point or result it has been changed. And here, as we felled and burned the forest, so we burned, plowed, and overgrazed the prairies. We came with vision, but not with sight. We did not see nor understand where we were or what was there, but destroyed what was there for the sake of what we desired. And the desire was always native to the place that we had left behind. The forest could not survive because we did not see it. We saw cleared fields. The prairies could not survive because in their place we saw cornfields and pastures, sowed to the cool season grasses of the old world. And this habit of assigning a higher value to what might be rather than to what is stayed with us, so that we continued to sacrifice the health of our land and of our communities to the abstract values of money making and industrialism, or to recreation. It is because we have so insulted and despoiled creation that we need recreation. In the last generation, huge areas have been laid waste by strip mining. He's from the West Virginia area. And it is no mere coincidence that the spread of surface mining has been parallel to the spread of extreme or extractive agriculture. So this quote, "To see and respect what is already there is the first duty of stewardship." As the farm wife had said, "I don't know what they are, but I don't want anybody fooling with them." That's an ecological principle and a religious one. If you don't know what it is, don't fool with it. Don't use it carelessly, don't destroy it. And who knows in what ultimate or final sense of what any creature is. One scientist has written that even the most exact of our exact sciences float above the abyss that cannot be explored. So this idea that understanding and respecting what is already here is very high, very important in the sense of stewardship. So stewardship, land ethic, conservation, these are values that I've been able to identify as important to me. And I think that's what roots me in the work that I do and
Mm-hmm.
in my search for professional and recreational opportunities that feed that energy. So,
Well, I love the intentionality. You've given this so much thought. You really have. And that's rare, That's rare. I love that. That caught me that. What did they say about recreation? That
right.
it.
It's because we have so insulted and despoiled creation that we need recreation.
Yeah. So it's the flip of that is
if you can find balance with the natural world, the joy and the calm and the
peace,
peace that comes with recreation.
Yeah, that we're supposed to be seeking with recreation.
Right.
Yeah, or that we think we are.
Instead of trying to change what is already here to what we know and then to supplement with recreation,
right.
Let's identify and connect with what is already here and to...
We naturally have recreation.
Right.
Or rest or recreation or, So
it does matter to me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that then spills over into my work. Thousand Hills, like I said before, has been an instrumental part of my being able to kind of live out my values
mm-hmm.
in a professional capacity, and then share that through excellent, healthy, high quality product.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can backfill that with the backstory. Well, this is how we got here.
Yeah.
This is the protocols. These are the farmers that we work with to provide these kinds of products.
Yeah.
Not because it's necessarily economically efficient or quick, but because it matters, because it has deep rooted values and significance in who we are and what we leave behind.
Oh, man. Yeah. I'm just thinking all of that is what I would say much more subconsciously motivates me.
I see that.
And then you're much more intentional and aware than I am. I just know that I'm drawn to it and there's something there that I can't give up. And it's really subconscious in a lot of ways. Some of it's conscious, but.
No, I would say that. I mean, having worked with you as I have for 15 years, and your passion for what you do and the motivation and drive that you bring to our work is definitely rooted. Now, only you know how intentional or how deep that goes.
Yeah,
how much you think about it. I probably think about it too much.
Well, I in some degree I think about it every day when I'm on the farm,
right?
Because I have that luxury where it's not all up to me on the farm, but I get to participate. And so it gives you that little more space to be able to think why,
right?
But what I realized as you were talking, one thing I've observed and admired in your work is the relationships and the trust that people have in you. And I always kind of wrote it off to, well, he means what he says. He's good for his word. If he says he's going to do it, he does it. He's reliable. But it goes much deeper than that into authenticity. Like, you believe in what you're doing, and they should too. And that authenticity and being so genuine is hard to find in people in work, to have that true authenticity. And so the people that you work with, your customers, they trust you implicitly. Like, they don't even really, they probably talk to you half as much as anybody else that they talk to, because they're like, well, Vernon's got it.
Right.
Nickname Vernon.
Yeah.
Or Vern.
Right. Cut it short. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I think that's something that you should be very proud of, to be able to live your life in such an authentic way that you don't have to tell anybody. You just know when they're dealing with you.
Well, and it's a lot of fun when you find those relationships, when you find those partnerships with colleagues, customers. you get that sense because many people are on this same journey trying to find understanding, trying to make sense of some of this that's going on. And so to be able to engage with those people, and like I said, the people that I've met along the way, I've really enjoyed getting to know them and work with them and
have a common vision with them.
And the vision. The vision's what drives it.
Yeah.
Because we all have day jobs and we all go about the work that needs to be done. But having a common vision with somebody really adds that depth of satisfaction to any relationship.
That's true.
So,
moving in the same direction.
But food brings us all together.
Yes. Yeah.
And so these ideas of conservation, land ethic, have all fed the type of work I've done. But I don't like to oversimplify or distract from the value of or the importance of deep understood values. But to monetize an idea, to take something like land conservation, land ethic or conservation, and find a way to monetize it where everyone can benefit, like with grass-fed beef, like a product that people consume, has always been important to me. And I think that's probably why I've stuck around, because when I did finally find, when I first met Todd Churchill, who founded Thousand Hills in 2003, and he approached me and said, "Hey, I got this idea. What do you think about starting this company selling grass-fed beef?" By then, I'd already convinced myself through prior work that pasture-based agriculture was the most, probably most conservation-centered farming practice possible. But the opportunity then to monetize it in a way that we could actually not only pay for the idea, but then support people who are willing to commit to the types of practices that are required to support that program.
That's a great point. To be monetized for profit, allowing as many people that want to participate as possible there is a difference between that and nonprofit and some kind of an initiative,
right?
Either through government or through nonprofit, and kind of pushing an agenda. The monetization, the for-profit kind of requires pulling.
Right. I think that's a fair way to look at it.
Yeah.
My early days were in nonprofit, and so it was mostly outreach, starting these conversations, trying to identify what are the tools and practices that can lead us to a more sustainable type of farming system and a more sustainable type of food system.
So you've always been an evangelist.
I have been.
Yeah.
I have been. Yep, for conservation and stewardship. It has been. And it was with having met Alan Savory from the Savory Institute, Alan Nation from the Stockman Grass Farmer, Joel Salatin, Virginia, who were actually doing things and talking about things and modeling these systems around pasture-based agriculture that made it like, oh, we can do this. But it was still stuck at that time. Well, that's a nice idea, but if you can't cash flow it, if you can't find a market for it, then it's just a nice idea.
Yeah.
And so when Thousand Hills was first started, it was very clear to me right from the get-go that this would be the path to, again, monetizing, but a path to supporting this idea. And now we see it throughout much of sustainable agriculture.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s when I was working in that field, people would say, well, that's a nice idea. That's cute. But I have to make a living. We're now seeing those practices and those ideas implemented in farming systems, and there being profitability.
In our lifetime.
In our lifetime. So that's been a real joy, and that's been it's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
Good.
So, and it's going to continue to grow.
I think so.
It's not diminishing.
It feels like the flywheel is gaining momentum. Like it's not, it doesn't feel like the flywheel's going to stop or go backwards.
Right.
You know, like it feels like it's gaining. There's more conversations. There's more land being put into production this way. There's signposts that seem like it's still a fraction.
It's very much a fraction. Very much. But one of the beauties of grass-based agriculture and Thousand Hills' grass-fed beef program is there are multiple value propositions built into that model. So if you're attracted to the environmental concerns, if you have environmental issues, you can connect how grass-fed agriculture can enhance and improve the environmental situation. If you're more inclined to the health and welfare of animals, you can look at this production model and say, these animals are in the best environment. And now Wendell Berry talks about husbandry, and our partner Lawrence Meats down in Cannon Falls, if you walk in their front office, they have a big sign, a quote by Wendell Berry talking about the importance of understanding that relationship between us as humans and the animals that are here to sustain us through our food, but that we have a responsibility.
And a reverence. We should have a reverence for that animal.
Again, stewardship and ethic to the animals that contribute to our livelihoods and to the health of the planet.
And health.
And human health and us.
The
human health. And we're learning more and more about that all the time, about nutrient-dense foods. And that's an exciting area that we're just now starting to tap into. So again, Thousand Hills is attempting to bring forward those values propositions in many fronts, while also providing a quality product to the marketplace to continue to sustain the whole initiative.
Our byproduct of the ethic.
Yeah. And that's why I stick around. Plus, I like the people I work with.
That helps. But you don't have to say that.
No, I don't, but I do.
Yeah. Well, where do we go from here? You know, like maybe some of the more practical stories on what it was like to start this idea, you know, and
well, I remember when we last had this conversation, or one similar to this, we were driving home across Wisconsin. It'd been about 2006, maybe 2008. And we had just presented to a major group of stores over there, the Woodman's accounts. And you and I were in the back room talking to Tom Long in his office, which was nothing more than a plywood box.
Shanty
in the storage
inside
room. And he was reluctant. We've seen a lot of reluctance around this program. But he was reluctant, but then he said, all right, you give me 60 days and we'll see if this works. And we hesitated, not for long, but we hesitated for the moment, and then committed to pursuing that. And it's turned out now the better part of 15 years with Woodman's has been an excellent relationship and a very important account for us.
What did he bring in? 3 or 4 SKUs that day?
Yeah.
It was like 3 or 4. And then what was it? 3 years later, there was 20-some SKUs on the show.
Right. And he only committed to the stores that wanted to participate because he had like 18 stores.
Yeah.
And he only committed to those that were willing to try it. But we've been able to, been able to grow that to all of his stores with well over 20 SKUs consistently over many years. And this is a more conventionally modeled retailer. Our success, of course, lies heavily with the natural food stores here in the Midwest. We're blessed with abundance of food co-ops and natural food stores here in the Midwest.
Great incubator.
Which really helped us test our theories, test our product.
So you're getting to the conversation of us driving across Wisconsin.
Yeah. So just talking about, some of the challenges. How do you break through conventional food systems with an unconventional product that typically was more expensive?
Always more expensive.
Always, and continues to be an issue for us. We're not trying to enter it at the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah.
And so
because it wouldn't work. You couldn't
work.
have this type of production.
No.
And be at that level of pricing. It just
and all the arguments are quite evident. There's reasons why we vertically integrated our food systems and cheapened our production systems because it made food cheap. But there's consequences, and we see it all around us in our environment, in the food health, the animal welfare, have all been somewhat sacrificed or compromised over those years. So there is a true cost, and we have been able to put all of those true costs into a product, overlaid with the values proposition, and found partners in the market who are willing to put it on the shelf and give it a chance and let the consumer decide. Provide them the option, provide them the opportunity, and provide them the information to make a decision. They, 9 out of 10 times, in my experience, and I think in Thousand Hills' experience, people will choose the better product.
Well, it certainly survives. I mean, we can count on our one hand how many accounts we did not work in.
Right.
And that's when you can so confidently say, just put it on the shelf.
Right.
Let the consumer decide. If they don't want it, we'll go away.
Right.
No problem. But give them a chance.
Yep.
Yeah. Give them a chance to vote.
Yep.
And then they do.
Yeah. And it's been successful. We have had quite a tremendous success over the years, finding our way into the marketplace, and bringing. So you have those early adopters, those pioneers and early adopters that know what they're looking for and will support you early. And the co-ops were part of that movement. Now we're creating windows of opportunity to present it to new people who haven't had the opportunity to think through these things or been given the choice.
Right.
Well, I can buy that or I can buy that.
Yeah.
That this is what this offers, this is what this offers. And then we all make choices every day for all kinds of reasons. But until you give people that opportunity, can they truly challenge their own thinking?
Right.
And ask themselves, what is important to me and my family?
Right. Yeah.
Where do I want to invest my limited resources, my limited dollars? I only have a food budget of this. Where am I going to spend it? And what am I going to get out of it? I'll get something to eat. I'll get a meal. But how nutrient dense is that? How will it affect other important things in my life, like water quality, air quality, environmental health, animal care, pollinators, all those things. They all start to come together, and then we begin to get a broader perspective, a more comprehensive view of, these things are connected. Because I've been conditioned to compartmentalize so much of my life and things around me that,
they're not connected.
The
does
notion,
not affect that.
Back in my organizing days, I worked for a group called the Land Stewardship Project in the late 80s and early 90s, and met some tremendous farmers at that time. And one of the things that was always in part of the conversation was the difference between reductionist thinking, which is how a lot of our science is derived. And there's reasons why you have to minimize the variables to narrow in on particulars to understand things. And that there's a value and there's a role for that. But the other side is the holistic view of things. How do the parts connect and interconnect? And how does this affect that? And so holistic resource management is what Alan Savory brought to the conversation in the early. He had been at it for longer, but I learned about it in the early 90s. This notion of things are interconnected. And when you pull this string, this moves, and on and on. And so, again, through that work and the awareness. So that's the value of the nonprofit world, because you're given the opportunity to bring forward ideas and conversations and stimulate thinking that isn't practical.
Right. Yep.
So until you have those conversations, do you start to open up new threads of behavior?
Right.
Farming practices. So that, then that started like, well, putting cattle back on grass. Well, we can't do that. We've studied it and we've thoroughly determined that the most efficient way to produce a pound of beef is confine them, haul in their feed, haul away their waste, and push them to maximum productivity and get them into the marketplace. But it doesn't it doesn't click, it doesn't check all the boxes.
Right. It doesn't.
And so we're learning that. And so now it does matter that we have pollinators and we create an environment, even within the context of producing beef. We're creating an environment for pollinators and bees to proliferate. And,
what comes to mind is that when talking about that holistic view is, okay, our eyes started to open on this. Like, let's just say when things were really bad in agriculture, and a lot of it hasn't changed even yet today, but there's so much to learn yet.
Oh, yeah.
Like soil health. I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface.
Right.
Like they're literally and figurative. Well, I guess we've scratched the surface a lot and did a lot of tilling, but there's so many things that we don't know about what affects positively and negatively soil health.
Right.
And you just go on and on. There's just so much, and you kind of see it happening. You see positive things happening when you implement practices like we're talking about, regenerative practices. You see it, but you don't know why.
Right.
And you don't even sometimes see it.
Right.
You have to stop to realize how this is different from last year or 10 years ago, how it's improved, And I just think that's so fascinating that if we can unleash the nonprofits and the universities into really diving into more of this holistic view of what are all the elements that we're affecting, and how do we quantify that? And
we've come a long way. Back in 1989, 1990, when I was first introduced to some of these ideas, there was no support around the idea. It was all kind of, just kind of dismissed as, pie in the sky, wishful thinking stuff. We have work to get done. We don't have time for these silly ideas.
Right.
But now here we are in 2025, and there are programs, there are research institutions coming together around these broader ideas, and farmers trying different things and implementing different things, and markets opening up to people with these innovative practices and products. And so we have come a long way in the last 35 years. We're not there yet.
No.
We got a ways to go. There's a lot more to learn. Like you say, we don't even begin to understand the complexity of soil fertility and soil, the biome, and everything that goes on. But the conversations I have, even with some of my neighbor friends who farm organically, that I'm having with them today versus I was having with them 30 years ago, and the level of comfort these farmers today have in having a conversation about things and acknowledging, I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to continue to research, do my test plots, do my monitoring, and I will find out. And that motivates all of us to continue forward. So that's been a major breakthrough I've seen over the last many years of this work.
I just realized that timeline you're talking about, kind of in 90s, and some of the progress that's happened since then. It parallel paths Thousand Hills timeline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that idea of, will someone even buy grass-fed beef?
Right.
At the same time, all these conversations are happening about what do we need to change in our agriculture system. And it's like parallel paths over
Well, and
time.
that's been, yeah. And Thousand Hills was one of the first grass-fed beef programs that was available at that time. Early on, we were very localized,
Yep.
very regional.
Yep.
But our objective was to be available at places where people shop.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that same time, there was a lot of movement to back to community-supported CSAs, community-supported agriculture, farmers markets, direct-to-consumer sales. All are important, all play a role in a healthy economy.
Mm-hmm.
But we had decided early on that we were going to try to put it into conventional food systems,
Mm-hmm.
grocery stores,
Yep.
in a grocery store.
Yeah.
And the partnership we had with Lawrence Meats over in Cannon Falls was key, was very important
Mm-hmm.
to supporting our efforts to source product that is raised to a certain protocol
Mm-hmm.
and packaged in a way that people buy it every day.
Yep.
It
Yep.
doesn't have to be frozen. I don't have to buy a whole animal or a
Right.
half an animal.
Right.
I can go buy 1 pound of hamburger.
Yep.
And it became our job as a company to utilize that whole carcass and to spread it amongst everybody so that we maximize the animals' utilization and made it accessible to as many people as possible.
Which it links back to that reverence for the animal. Like,
Absolutely.
here is this animal, you know, and we're still working on utilizing the whole carcass.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, what pet treats or
Yep.
whatever products that aren't readily sold at a supermarket.
And
that-
again, to the net nutrient density. I mean,
Yeah.
heart, liver,
Bones, marrow,
all this
oxtail,
tallow,
tallow.
all this byproduct of the animal has a role in our food system.
God, and you just go back to your grandparents and
They
they used all that.
They used the liver.
Yeah,
the heart.
You ate the liver. You made bone broth. You used tallow in your cooking. You know, it was like, it was out of necessity, I guess.
Right.
But how wise was that? How nutritious was that? How
Right.
holistic was that?
Right.
You know, it was,
And now we're finding that all of that, having left our food system,
Yep.
is now becoming very apparent that that's very important to bring back into our food system.
Yep.
So again, Thousand Hills, having gotten a head start on some of this,
Mhm.
and maybe out ahead of the curve a little bit early, thus some of the stumbles we probably had early
Mhm.
on. But it positioned us now, 22 years later, to be ready to deliver the goods that
Mhm.
consumers are saying, you know what? I didn't know tallow was so good for me, that is so important in my whole health system.
Mhm.
Where can I buy it? Well, here it is. Thousand Hills has it available.
Mhm.
It's now available to you.
Mhm.
So that's one of the beauties of having been with an organization that has had such a long tenure.
Yeah. So how much has the conversation changed from those first days when you had one carcass to sell?
Yeah.
And now, how has that come to the gatekeeper retail meat buyer?
So there's a lot of retailer partners that we have that are in the business of selling food.
Sure.
They don't really have a strong value position on this product or that product or that product, but they know the customer has arrived in the spoken.
Yep.
It's now part of the conversation. And so I still run into situations where I'll walk into a store and the meat buyer will say, I'm not interested in grass-fed beef. I sell a lot of this conventional beef. People like it. This is what I want. And again, give us the space, let the consumer decide.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, okay, well, we'll give you enough room for 3 products.
Mm-hmm.
Slot them in. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then the consumer speaks, and that person starts to realize, oh, yeah, that's not important to me, but it's important to other people who have an impact on how my business
Mm-hmm.
performs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whereas before, you pretty much they had to buy the hook, line, and sinker
Mm-hmm.
before you'd get it on the shelf.
That's true. Yeah.
Now they're willing to open up a slot and show me.
Yeah.
showed me. So, and that's, I guess, not too far from our experience early. Again, the food co-ops were instrumental in giving us an anchor.
Yeah.
But there were regional chains like Kowalski's here in the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
Boyd Oss was one of the early people who wasn't necessarily a believer, but he gave us the opportunity. He said, all right, if you think this will sell, I'll give you a slot, but you come into the store and you sell it for me.
Oh,
so we were over the top doing store demos back in the day, and we had a whole team of people that would be in the stores.
That's right. I forgot about that. The team
Barb,
of people.
Dorothy, Karen, Becca.
Yeah.
We were in those stores. So those people were instrumental too. Give us the opportunity, and then they demanded that we sell it for them.
Mm-hmm. And what great consumer research when you're talking to those consumers over and over and over and over and over again, multiple days, weeks,
and then
years.
You watch how it affects the people behind the counter.
Yeah.
Who were, maybe
skeptical
at best.
Yeah, you're cute, Todd. You're not that cute.
I know. I don't need you. I don't need you in my store.
Yeah.
But, so the story has changed. The conversations have changed some, but fundamentally it's about providing access to alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a chance. Give the product a chance. Give your customers a chance to decide. Give us that space, and we will support it. And then the customers will tell you if it's going to be important to your program or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that continues to be what we do every day.
Yeah.
Supporting that system,
supporting
that opportunity to present it to the next customer
who
may only be beginning to learn and think about these things.
That's right. It is
because not everyone thinks about all the same things.
That's right.
We all get into our tunnels.
Yep.
And what I need to do, what I need to get done, what's important to my day. But we all value knowledge.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to think for ourselves, given the information and the tools and the product to do that. So,
good.
That's one of the exciting parts of what we do.
So when you ride towards retirement here, that you're threatening, how are you going to keep this going? I know you well enough to know that you're not just going to sit back.
Right.
So what ideas do you have about what do you do next?
Well, so food's a big part of, what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And food will obviously always be an important part of who I am because we all eat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know. But I have a land base at home that's gone unattended.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me 35 years to see what might work. I've tried a few things over the years, failed at many.
Mm-hmm. As it goes with land.
As it goes with
unconventionally.
It goes with land that was largely abused back in the early days, marginal land that was overgrazed, overplowed, a lot of erosion. So I want to go back and work on the land.
Play on the land. Do some healing.
Paint my masterpiece, as Bob Dylan would tell us. But I also, and I want to continue the conversation around stewardship and a land ethic, and allow that conversation to kind of morph into conversations about, well, where do you buy your food? Oh, what farmer are you buying from, or where can I get that product? But selling food may take a back seat for a while.
Yeah. Well, Todd, you should be very proud of your life's work and your dedication to those ideals and value and ethic that you identified early on, which is a gift that you did. You put in the time and considered that. So you should be very proud of
Thanks, Matt.
what you have done.
Yeah, thank you.
Up to this point, you're only half. You're only half done.
I know.
So this is just halftime.
Well, and it requires a team. It requires many moving parts, and I appreciate everything you've brought to the conversation and to the work.
Yeah, thank you.
You've helped make it happen.
Thank you.
So,
yeah. Well, it's
and
been a
all
good
of the
partnership.
folks at Thousand Hills and the
Yep.
farmers that we work with
Yes.
and the people we've met
Yep.
on our journey.
Yeah. Amen. Well, thank you, Todd. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We'll get together in another couple of years and get an update from you.
All right.
But appreciate everything you've done and who you are.
Thanks,
you, Todd.
Matt. Thank you, Matt.
You bet, Vernon.
All right.